Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
All right, so what's it's Disability Independence Day, huh?
Yep. And let's see, in the side chat, I saw Commander 401 and Von Rick. Yep. Yeah, July 26th was the signing of the American Disabilities Act, which basically said you can't discriminate against disabled people, and all public buildings had to make provisions to be accessible to people with walking disabilities. So that's why everything got equipped with wheelchair ramps and such.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yep, it was a good piece of legislation. It let people be a lot more involved in the communities, that they didn't have to just sit at home. They can get out and do things on their own.
Yeah.
We're struggling with that with Sloth Girl just because she can't walk very much on her own at this point. I wish we could get her one of those mobility scooters, but those things are a couple thousand.
Yeah, I remember when my mom had broken her foot, I had to wheel her around in a wheelchair for a while. And if I happen to go out, it's because I've got a thunderstorm right overhead that just started, so...
Okay. Hey, Greg, Mark. Oh. An alias.
Autistic Shell, huh?
Oh, I'm hearing the thunder there.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
That one you just heard just caused my lights to flicker.
Yeah, we had a real thunder boomer come through last night. It started about midnight and it was still going when I went to bed. So it went on for at least 4 or 5 hours. I had one amazingly bright lightning flash, which made me wonder, if that had struck nearby. But I haven't been outside today to see if it actually did any damage to the trees or anything.
Yeah, these are all AI generated images I'm currently using here.
Yeah. Yeah, your standing one, the most of the head is cut off. I really only see the muzzle.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why it's not giving me the full image like it's supposed to. Let me try something here real quick. No, that's not. It's not doing it.
Yeah, Von Rick, I try not to go out in the daylight if I can avoid it. But, every once in a while, it's like, yeah, for some reason I can't get any of the doctors to schedule appointments at midnight.
For some reason, my whole setup is off center for some reason.
Oh, there you go. Now it looks right.
Yeah, but actually, I'm looking at my preview on the split cam, and it's actually lowered.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Okay, as I warned Mage before we came in here, Sammy is trying to get comfortable and keeps stretching his arm across my keyboard, so if things start happening randomly, it's Sammy pressing buttons on me.
And Molly just came in to get a pet.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's exactly how I had you've seen this image before.
Yeah,
I haven't changed the position of it at all.
yeah, it's like it had an extra border on the left side and cut off the right side.
Yeah, it's cut off from the top too.
Hmm.
Not sure what's going on.
Oh, yeah, I had to go out yesterday and do shopping on the bus, but I limited it. I didn't make as many stops as I normally do. There's Jenny.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. We were wondering where you were.
Oh, I was out doing some grocery shopping, and just got back late.
Okay. Did you
So,
get your stuff in the fridge put away?
no, I don't buy any stuff for the fridge.
Okay. Just as long as you don't have anything that's going to go bad for sitting out while we're on stream.
No, foods aren't that fragile.
Okay.
So what are we what are we talking about?
It's Disability Independence Day today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that July 26th is the anniversary of when they signed the Americans with Disability Acts that
Uh-huh.
said you can't discriminate against disabled people and required all public buildings to be handicap accessible.
Yeah, although of course it doesn't work out that way, but
Yeah,
it's worth
sometimes
a
the
try.
definition of accessible isn't quite right, but
Employers and stuff really bitch about, or I shouldn't say employers, business owners, whether it's a mom and pop operation all the way up to huge corporations, always bitch about what they have to do to accommodate the disabled in terms of physical plant.
yeah.
But they don't realize how critical even these little bitty, a grab bar in a bathroom, it
Yep.
can sometimes make the difference whether or not somebody can sit down on the toilet and get back up.
Well, I've actually a lot of the work I've done has been things like that of installing handicap bags for people and like building wheelchair ramps. I did quite a bit of that over the years. And
that's
people
another.
complain about how long the ramps are, but if somebody's in a wheelchair that they're just doing it with their arms, yeah, they can't do that steep of an incline.
People don't realize how hard it is just to be in a wheelchair in terms of propelling yourself.
Yeah. I've tried it just to get an idea for it, but I've never had to.
Hi, Marky Poo. Hi, Greg. Hi, Von Rick.
Oh. Hey, Steph.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
I remember my knee giving me problems for a few months, and I was having to walk with a cane for a while. Ugh.
I had problems with my knee when I was younger, but it seems to have fixed itself, which was a huge surprise to me because I'm the only one in my family who got past 50 without having a knee or a hip replaced. So I really was expecting to have an artificial knee by this point.
No, that's actually what got me to go to the doctor, and I found out I had scoliosis.
That's not fun.
Eh. So I was having back problems as well, and I figured they went to the doctor to get my knee checked out, and like mentioned the back problems. They checked it out, like, oh, you got scoliosis.
Well, having crawled around on my knees since I was like 22, making sales, it's like, yeah, they hurt every now and again.
Turns out I apparently got pretty lucky with my back too, because after the X-rays they did, they told me if the curvature had been any worse, it would have required surgery to repair.
Mark Caesar's recommending you get elbow crutches.
Well, I don't need them now, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, Sloth Girl is at the point that even walking from her apartment down to the car has gotten to be, too much when she's doing her chemo. So, fortunately for us, the building actually owns 2 wheelchairs that they keep in the community room, so
yeah,
I can go up and bring her down.
the cane was basically all I had to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see, how hard it is for people to get around. Like I said, I've done building wheelchair ramps and a lot of grab bars and railings for people over the years.
Like I mentioned, I had to wheel my mom around in a wheelchair for a while, and that would have been a real pain in the ass without any kind of ramps around.
Yep. And some of the doorways are just barely wide enough to get a wheelchair through.
Yeah, I remember some of the doorways and stuff I had to go in backwards.
Yep.
We've come a long way, not far enough really, but a long way in terms of accessibility to stuff. Not nearly enough, but the awareness that Americans with Disability Act created, and the impetus for no, you've got to change these things because people ought to be able to have access to all of them.
Well, this building
All of
was
the
built
things that you expect, and we've still got loads and loads of. There are still loads and loads of obstacles within people's that people who aren't so encumbered don't notice.
Yeah.
And we can do better. But a lot of people, that's the sad thing about contemporary attitudes. Some people don't feel that we need to.
Well, let's put it in the greedy capitalist perspective. If you want this person's money, you have to let them be able to get into the building and to get their money.
Yep. Actually, one of the things I only became aware of about a year ago is the sidewalks, the ramps that go down from the sidewalk to the street level and all those little bumps on it.
Oh man, what a pain in the ass.
Well, no, I had thought that those bumps were just there, like for traction in wet weather. But actually, those bumps are there for blind people using a cane so that
Oh
they know
really?
when they're entering the street.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that they can feel it with their cane to know where the end of the sidewalk is.
And
I did
hadn't
not
thought
know that.
about that.
Yeah, like I said, I learned about that less than a year ago.
That sounds right, because I'm thinking where I always see those, and it's always like from the entrance to a building to its parking lot and ending at the parking lot, or and
Yeah. It's just so they have a warning so they don't accidentally walk into traffic.
I had no idea.
I thought it
That's
would mostly
very
just
interesting.
piss me off.
Yeah. That's another thing, that the wheelchairs, like everything else in our society, is built assuming everyone is the same size. One thing I
Oh
have
no,
been glad.
wheelchairs come in all different sizes. It's mostly width that they come in. Other things tend to be custom.
Yeah.
But they definitely accommodate various sizes.
Well, I was going to say, I have seen that now at the medical center, that they have, some extra wide wheelchairs.
You can find 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 24,
Yeah.
and 25-inch widths that I'm aware of, and what I've seen as I'm shopping for one.
Yeah, but there's always that balance between, being wide enough to be comfortable to sit in and being so wide that it doesn't fit through some of the doorways.
Well,
The wider they
they're all
are, the
built to
harder they are.
standards, and if the doorway is not big enough, then somebody didn't build the doorway right.
Yeah, well, older buildings and that. I'm actually surprised. This building was built in the 70s, but it actually appears that, they had some thought to handicap access even when they built it. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that it's not retrofit, it's original equipment, but it's pretty accommodating.
I don't think the building owners and such should bitch about what they have to do so much. A wheelchair is too wide. Well, then just cut a couple notches in the door jamb. Yeah, good idea.
Well, the main problem with it isn't the wheelchair itself so much as the person hitting their knuckles in the door jamb.
Hmm.
Oh fuck! How did I just cut myself? Jeez, they're bleeding like a stuck pig.
You better go put a bandage on that.
No, it'll stop.
Okay, well, at least hold something, hold the tissue on it or something, apply some pressure.
No, look, it's the kind of cut that looks like a razor did it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just sitting here, talking, not hanging up and fighting with knives or anything.
Maybe you got yourself with your razor sharp wit. Oh. So anyway, I have next week I will not be here. Mate says he'll run the stream next week.
Yeah, if you want me to.
Well, either you run it or we're not going to have one. Because next week I will be driving down to Wisconsin. My van basically just because it's over 10 years old, everybody wants to just write it off for scrap and nobody really wants to even look at it. The one shop gave me an estimate of $9,000, even saying they couldn't get the hood open to see what was inside. So instead, we have gone with the plan that I'm going to tow it down to my brother in Wisconsin, and he's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I suspect it would be less than 9,000 effects.
Well, I'm sure it would. Like I say, the engine was still running. So, the drivetrain wasn't damaged. It was only the fact that I lost the radiator that I couldn't drive it home. If I had tried to drive it, it just would have overheated itself. And also with losing the radiator, the transmission there was a transmission cooler to the radiator. So when the radiator went out, it also lost all the transmission fluid. So yeah, I'm just going to rent a U-Haul with a tow dolly and bring it down there. So I will be gone all of next week.
All right.
I'll bring my laptop on so I can, at least check in on Twitter, but I won't have time to do much more than that because, the trade-off actually, since we were even talking about it, that while I'm down there, I'm going to be building a handicap ramp to his front door because his son is having some walking issues.
Yeah.
I wish they had powered ramps. All I'd have to do is step onto it, and it motorizes me up to the door, the landing.
Yeah, Mark, it's a bit under 400 miles.
Just in style ramps, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense.
Different surfaces are really can be very problematic. Like I'm at the hospital. I'm at the hospital. They have a different floor covering strategy for every clinic office, on every different floor. It's always varied between like linoleum to various types of carpet. We're not talking any 1970s shag carpeting or anything like that, but just a Berber type weave can be very, very difficult to get across in a wheelchair. It's just so much resistance. Whereas on linoleum, you can glide right across that. That's no big deal. But it's also the tire surface. Some of the tires on the wheelchairs are one material, and I've never investigated exactly what. But there are different materials that ride completely different on the same surface.
I have wondered about some of them because the tires seem so smooth. I have wondered about, them not being able to get much traction, like if you're on linoleum that's on a ramp going up.
Well, I've never had that problem. Maybe others have, but not me.
I don't know. I haven't had to do it myself, so.
When I'm at the clinic and it's time to go, they've got this ramp from the lobby area up to the doorway, and it's much steeper ramp than you would find at a home, built up for the front door or something like that. And I can't push myself up there in the wheelchair, so I turn around and I'm still able enough that I can push myself up backwards with my feet, with one foot. And then there's a railing on the side, and I can grab that and pull at the same time. And I get up there. You learn what you got to do.
Yeah, you have to figure out ways to improvise when the world's not really set up for your situation.
Mm-hmm. If there's a volunteer around, they're happy to push you up, but I don't necessarily want to wait.
Yeah.
Back. Hi. And TV Tube.
Hello.
Yep. And Commander came back, and Doc Fearsome stepped in. So we got a bunch of people now.
Well, howdy, a bunch of people.
And look at the trees.
Hey, did you get hit by a thunderstorm this morning?
We got one. Yeah, we got one last night. It came through. It started about midnight, and it went at least 4 or 5 hours. I went to bed, and it was still going.
I'm getting a thunderstorm right now.
We got nailed real good this morning.
Yeah, I haven't been outside to see if it did any real damage, but it sure was loud, and there were some really bright flashes.
I had to wait on the porch for my ride to get here, and it was just cats and dogs. Sheet rain. It looks like a hurricane. There's so much rain, and it's blowing around. It's from such high winds. But the lightning, holy fuck!
Yeah.
I can't believe how intense it was. There's a strike every 20, 30 seconds tops, and they were just the strongest sounding ones I've ever heard, and they're getting really close. So I went back in the house. I was scared.
Yeah, we had one that was so incredibly bright, and like I say, this was after midnight, and it was just so incredibly bright. I was wondering, how close that had hit.
PDC, pretty damn close.
I've seen some lightning hit some pretty close to me. In fact, right across the street, the guy had a tree, and the tree got split in two by lightning.
Did you get to see it?
I didn't see the thing hitting it, but it was kind of a shame too because he planted that tree from a seedling.
Yeah. It's always a shame when a tree that's decades old gets taken out like that.
Not that kind of nailed, Beck. I have a friend out in Massachusetts who was in a tree fall. She was driving along and a tree came down right on top of her head and permanently disfigured her and hobbled her. You know, it broke legs, it broke her neck, it broke her back. It just kicked the shit out of her. They were surprised she lived at all, but she did. She used to be a very talented artist, but doesn't have that motor skill anymore.
Mm.
Falling trees is a bad thing.
The house I lived in St. Paul with my ex got destroyed by the tree falling over on it. And the tree came down and stopped less than 3 feet over one of our daughter's beds. And I had just reframed the roof that summer, so if I hadn't reframed it and if it still was the older, weaker roof, she would have been dead.
You know, interestingly enough, the story in Robin Hood, that's how Maid Marian dies.
Really?
Yeah, the tree falls on her during the storm.
I don't remember that version.
Poor Maid Marian.
It's in the books, but they usually cut that part out yeah, they usually cut that part out from movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see Olivia de Havilland being struck by a tree in that documentary on Robin Hood.
Boy.
Along with Robin Hood being bled to death.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Errol Flynn never bled to death in any film. And maybe we should rephrase it. Instead of look at the trees, it should be look out for the trees.
Mark, there's energy dispersant from lightning that you can have a lightning strike, like say 10 feet from your house, and it will still fry everything in the house just from the energy load that is released.
Yep.
Best storm.
You don't say. I also remember another lightning strike that hit on the other side of the next street over. Actually, he created a pothole.
So probably the closest lightning strike I ever experienced was we were bringing the J105 back from Block Island, Rhode Island to Maine. And we were aware of the fact that there was a line of squalls coming through, and that we reached the entrance to the Cape Cod Canal, the southern entrance to the Cape Cod Canal. The railroad bridge is there, and we're coming into the channel, and that's when the squall hit. And we had the mainsail up, and usually when you enter the canal, you're supposed to take your sails down. Well, we were dead downwind, and there was no way we were going to get the sail down. And the lightning starts going, and it's all around us. And this one strike was so close to the boat that there was absolutely zero time between the lightning strike and the sound of thunder. It was right there. Yep. All of the lights on the boat flickered out. The instruments flickered out. The hair on my head stood up.
Yep.
It was that close. It couldn't have been more than 100 yards.
Yeah, if you hear and see at the same moment, you'd think you're lucky stars you're alive.
Yeah. Well, and here you are on a boat. You've got a great big huge piece of metal sticking up in the air. And
well, that's part of what scares me this morning is my cane is metal. I feel lightning with metal cane in my hand.
But it was something. I mean, it you know, when it hit, it was like both Don, the guy who was driving, and I just sort of felt like we were elevated, you know, lifted up heavenward in the air. Like, what the fuck? It's like, holy shit, that was scary.
Rapture!
And, you know, and of course it's pissing rain. And as I said, it's dead downwind. So the rain is going horizontal on our backs. And it was an interesting moment at sea. It's, you know, it was so bad that you couldn't see the railroad bridge, you know, that when it hit, you couldn't see anything around you at all.
God, PBS has a show right now on the brain, and I can't hear the volume, so I don't know why this scene is in there. But there's a couple guys climbing a round tubular type tower up to a cell phone antenna. God, you'd never get me to do that. It's you know, their foot spot is, you know, just a couple inches, and oh man, how do you get down? You know, it's just,
Carefully.
Yeah, it's like I see those guys working on the windmills, and it's like, yeah, no, not gonna do that.
well, that's 180 feet up. I guess it's a long ways.
You know, like 60 feet up is enough for me. You know, I'm not real keen on heights, even if I'm strapped into a bosun's chair and I know nothing. It's like, oh, this halyard's okay. It's okay.
I'm not comfortable with a step ladder, so.
Yeah, I'm not really comfortable with ladders, but I've had to do a lot of work on roofs, so sometimes I just, you know, got to deal with it. Of course, it doesn't help that I've fallen off a half dozen roofs, but
whenever I have to go up on my roof to clean it off, I always make sure I have somebody else, you know, come over so I have a spotter.
Yeah, catch me. I'd kill anybody if I fell.
No, it's just in case, you know, say, you know, the ladder gets knocked down or something.
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to have somebody there if you can. Unfortunately, I've all too often had to work alone.
This conversations makes me think of some snapshots I saw on the internet of a guy's Halloween decorations, or no, Christmas decorations. He had a guy dressed up in kind of like, you know, like in that movie, Chevy Chase and whatever her name is, where he had to climb the house and wire the electric lights and stuff like this. And so he was dressed up kind of like that, this dummy, and he was hanging from the gutter. And the ladder was on the ground. It was a fake ladder, but it was still on the ground. And just hanging, this guy just hanging there by the gutter. And they got all kinds of phone calls to the police and fire. And they asked him to take it down.
We had a pretty good squall come through last week, a week ago today, and we were out getting ready to start the race, and it's like, let's get the sails down now.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Well, we got the jib down, left the main up because it didn't look like it was going to get bad, but it did get bad. So what we did, we were close enough to the anchorage. We just sailed back, picked up a mooring, took the main down, and waited till the fucking thing went by. But boy, was it a mess. It probably topped out at about 40 knots. And I was just glad we weren't sailing, because it's not pleasant sailing in 40 knots of wind in a 24-foot boat that isn't. J24s, I've been on the thing when it's blown harder than that, but it's not pleasant at all.
Yeah, invisible disabilities is a lot of what I deal with.
Yeah, I did want to get to that. That's something I dealt with for most of my life, because until I ran my fingers through a power saw, I didn't have anything anyone could see. But yeah, the autism and the Tourette's, are not fun things when they happen in public and people don't know what the fuck is going on with you.
And I'm
That's
like I
true.
said, I'm dealing with a flare up with the arthritis is right now. So
Yeah, and that's a big one that just because somebody can stand and maybe walk a couple of steps doesn't necessarily mean they don't need a wheelchair, because it could be that they can't stand more than a full minute.
yeah, you see the people get up out of the wheelchair to get something out off of a shelf and then sit back down. Like, oh, see, you didn't need a wheelchair. Yes, they do.
Yeah, well, that's what Sloth Girl's got to do, shopping. And, we can only go to stores that have the power carts, and
Hmm.
she can stand up long enough to reach something off the shelf. But, she couldn't be walking around the store for half an hour while we pick everything out.
Yeah.
Walmart always has carts.
One of the Walmarts we go to doesn't have enough of them, so we tend to not go to that one because often there aren't any that are there that are charged.
I think that's probably true of all of them. The one I go to, the typical Walmart superstore, it's only got 3 of them.
Yeah, fortunately, there's 2 Walmarts here because there's one in the city and there's one in the adjoining suburb. They're both fairly close by. The one that's in the main shopping area there has like 5 of them, so there's a much better chance of finding one.
Big toes.
An extra bone?
Well, if the bones in your little toe are fused together, you should check for which quirk you have. It's an anime thing.
Okay, I don't watch much anime, so I don't get the reference.
When I was working at St. Mike's Hospital, we had this patient who had such terrible and long-term ingrown toenails that they removed her toes.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was that bad.
This is another issue. A lot of people they see people with walkers or wheelchairs that are overweight and just think that that's what's causing the problem, and it's like, no, that if you can't walk very much, you really can't exercise very much either. So yeah, you're likely to put on weight.
I'm trying to come up with exercises you can do when you can't stand.
There are some routines for it, but generally that only exercises the upper part of your body. And
Yeah.
My walking ability is impaired because of my left leg and ankle. Just worn so badly over the years that I fall over if I try to walk. Um, people see you on a cane, they don't think you're on a cane, you're fine, you can get around. Well, yes, I can for about 20, 30, 40 feet maybe, and that's it.
yeah,
And even going shopping at a small, store, it can be very difficult. We got 5, 6, 7 aisles, and it's just a lot harder than people realize.
yeah, one of the interesting things I've seen around here, taking the buses, is that they have newer buses, and when the driver opens the door, the bus automatically releases the hydraulics so that the front end drops to bring the door down to a much lower step height.
Yes, that's called a kneeling bus.
Yeah, I had never seen those before I moved here.
Milwaukee got their first ones of those back. Oh God, it was the 80s. Got their first ones of those.
Yeah, it's quite nice, and I'm not dealing with a wheelchair, but I'm, like pulling this granny cart around, so
Mm-hmm.
still dealing with something with wheels, and yeah, it brings the level down to only like an inch or two above the curb. And for somebody who is in a wheelchair, there's a ramp that he can extend.
Really? That I haven't seen.
Yeah, it also has a fold-out ramp.
Does it have a bike rack on front?
Yep.
I do like how they design some of these canes where they won't fall over if you let go of them.
Oh yeah, those 4-footed things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sloth Girl's got a 3-footed cane, and it's got a little pivot there, so it'll flex a little bit without any of the feet coming off the ground.
Yeah, I just got a 1-footer. But boy, do I go through tips. The rubber tips, of course, are replaceable. I go through about 2 a year.
Yeah. Well, if you're walking outside on the concrete, I can see that wears them down real fast. How do those handle, though, in the winter on the ice?
Very badly. There's a spike set that you can get that clamps down and then can swing up for the summer, and then you can swing it down, lock it in place for the winter. I would also like to get a pair of I don't know what they call them, shark teeth or something for your foot. You strap these spikes to your
Oh yeah,
feet.
Yeah, like those metal cleats that you can strap onto your shoes.
Yeah. Ice is very, very, very scary for me. I've got my fake hips, and I'm just very afraid that they might encourage me to break. If I fall, because it's just an unnatural thing, and it doesn't flex like the natural body and stuff like that. So I'm always really afraid of it, and there's just some conditions that I just want to cry. They're so scary in the winter. But I'm not going to move to Florida. Sorry, Mage. Don't take it personal.
Yeah, Vice Rhino and Cirrus just did a live stream where they were talking about the 10 worst states to live in.
Yeah, no offense taken.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Florida ranked as the worst state.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't remember if we talked about this last week. That there are attorney generals from 19 states who have all signed a letter. I don't know who they sent it to. I forgot to ask that. Demanding that all hospitals in their state turn over all the medical records to any woman who's ever had an abortion, okay, who has ever had a miscarriage, any complications of pregnancy like that, and every transgender person in the state. Now, why would they want lists of that?
Yeah.
So what, they want to retroactively charge them now?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I think they probably want the list so that they have easy access to your locations for when the concentration camps get opened.
Yep.
Have you guys heard of the program 2025?
I'm not sure if you're referring to the thing I'm thinking of.
Well, what are you thinking of?
Well, there was a weird conspiracy thing about them purging the population.
What the population? I'm sorry.
Purging the undesirables from the population.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be part of it. 2025 is a real program. It was designed and composed by the Heritage Foundation, our buddies, And it is set to trigger and go into effect if Trump or any other Republican win the White House in 2024. And so it couldn't start until after inauguration, so that's why it's called 2025. And it is a 900-page operator's manual on how to turn a democracy into a fascist state where all the powers of the state belong to the president. Everything.
Yep.
Okay? And every command that the person gives must be followed. You know, I mean, it says pure total dictatorship. It's, you know, it's pure Nazism, fascism.
Yeah, well,
and this thing is real, and there are people who are way behind it and think that it's a great thing and wonderful, and boy, this is really going to make the country better, and all this really sick shit.
So basically, that's what we get
I'm
to look
sure
forward.
that
So that's what we get to look forward to when the Republicans take office, is either or this time or next, huh?
I'm sure there was a similar program in, let's say 1930 that was called 1933. Because that's exactly what happened. Hitler was named and inaugurated chancellor in January of 1933, and by May, the books were being burned.
Yeah.
And the names were being taken.
Yeah. The Commandant will have
surprised
control
if-
of schools, will have control of all the police, everything, just absolutely everything. There will be no more Congress. It'll exist, but it does nothing. It can't stop him from doing anything. It can't tell him to do anything. You know, it can just be there and look like it matters. This is very, very dangerous, folks, as I'm sure you can imagine. Dig it up online for yourself and go read it. See if you can find a copy. I haven't found a copy yet for myself, but it's out there. And the Heritage Foundation, it does not fuck around. They got huge damn money.
Yeah, Jenny, Andrew's right. You should set up an Amazon wish list with things like the cane spike and the things for your shoes. Yeah, set it up now. Maybe somebody can get them for you by winter.
There you go. That's a smart idea.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all if the Heritage Foundation literally, took the Nazi documents and just changed the dates. They've been known to do things like that.
Well, good old Ron DeSantis had to fire an actual Nazi off of his campaign trail. But I imagine he's probably got a few more on staff that haven't either been as egregious or just trying to bide their time. It's like, hey,
you didn't hear about
don't throw your hand quite that broadly, That's
you didn't hear about that ad that got posted by a staffer.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That guy got fired, but it's like he only got fired because he said the quiet part out loud. And,
no, I'm just asking. Basically, what happened was there was this ad that somebody put out, and one of the staffers retweeted it, and at the end of the ad, it had DeSantis his head with these two lines of soldiers on either side, and they put the black sun symbol over his head.
Yeah. Well, ever since 2016, there's a lot of the quiet stuff the Republicans have said out loud. And unfortunately, their base still supports all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because their base is sure that they're only going to get rid of, the other people, that they're never going to bother them.
Yeah, see, that's not the way it usually works. So.
It never works that way. They just go down the list, eliminating one group at a time until they get to you.
They work and campaign and give Trump their money. He's such a rich guy. He needs your money.
Which I can't understand that at all. Why would you ever send money to somebody who has more money than you do? Sorry, Jenny.
I kind of lost my train of thought.
You were saying about them sending money to Trump and supporting him, and
No, that was just a side piece.
oh, sorry.
Oh yes, I remember. Anyways, the people that are giving him all this kind of money and shit like this, and supporting him, and spewing how they believe his programs and all this kind of stuff, even though they're absolutely fucking nuts if you go and interview these people. So one woman was talking about, well, JFK tells us that he's going to do this and this, and then that will happen, and then Trump will get elected, and the world will be bright and rosy. It's like we laid here fucking crazy.
Yep.
Anyways, they don't understand the hard truth of world politics, okay, and things like revolutions and states changing philosophies and this kind of stuff. They just need to look back and see that practically every revolution that has happened, I don't care if it's left or right end revolution, eats its own. Okay, the people who are fighting the hardest, if they were to win and their big boss goes into power, the big boss looks at them and says to himself, those people were so committed to getting me in office, that means they could be that committed to get me out of office. So off with their heads.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
even Robespierre got the chop. That's true.
Yeah. It's called the you knew I was a snake when you let me in parable.
Yeah.
And
Well, that was Donald telling on himself. He loved telling that story.
oh yeah. Oh, I heard it years ago before he ever mentioned it.
Oh yeah, so yeah, but he just loved telling that story. He's just this is what I'm gonna do. It's like when people tell you that they're gonna do this shit, you should start believing them because they're doing it. It's not it amazes me that people were walking around in 2018 saying, "Oh, they'll never do that." It's like, yeah, they will. Watch.
Yeah.
And they've done it.
Well, like
Well, they
they'll
have.
never
I mean, look at
overturn
what
Roe versus Wade.
Look at this whole thing with the attorney general signing a paper, getting together all of them, 19 states, all you women, you have to give us all your medical records, even though HIPAA does not allow that to happen. They're still doing it. Hospitals have actually started to turn over information to their attorney generals in Tennessee, and the people are suing.
I was going to
the
say
hospital.
the hospitals are going to get their ass sued off for violating HIPAA.
Yep, it's already happening in Tennessee. So this is not just some
Tennessee's got to
radical
be on that list
radical left person who's being paranoid here. It's actually happening.
Tennessee's got to be on that list of shitty places to hang your hat these days.
Yeah, actually, it was like 3 or 4 of the 10 worst states.
Mm-hmm. Arkansas, Texas.
Yeah, Texas was number 5. I was surprised Texas didn't rank higher on that one.
It's also curious to mention that the 19 states that the AGs signed the pledge are also the same 19 states who tried to produce false electors to throw the election.
What a coincidence!
Isn't that shocking?
Yeah, I'm blown away. How's that possible?
I don't know. It's probably false news, but
You mean it wasn't any of the states Biden won?
No, it wasn't. It just I don't know. I don't know why.
Oh, I heard Biden didn't win any of the states. I thought it was like a clean sweep.
Well, the biggest ever in history.
Yeah.
Yep. Plus Indiana was in there. Indiana's one of Indiana's big concerns was lack of health care for children.
Oh, why would they want that?
I don't know, maybe to let your kids survive long enough to actually be able to get jobs. You know, it seems to me that for the economy in general, it's more profitable if you let the kids grow to be adults and contribute to the workforce.
But the rapture's coming, so why? You know, it's
Well, yeah, the
no.
rapture's going to happen in 1975, though. So
There's a lot of chatter on Twitter right now. People saying the rapture's going to be here any day, kind of stuff. And I just respond back to them. Good. Can I have your car? I need a car.
I'll be honest. I wish the rapture would happen so all these assholes would go away and leave us alone.
yeah, I've been saying that for years, that I can't wait for the rapture, because then I can go around and collect all the cool stuff the Christian neighbors leave behind.
Yeah, like all those crucifixes in the front yard.
There were some
Good
people
fire,
trying
good.
to cash in on that crap. That insofar as selling insurance policies, like we'll take care of your dog after you're raptured and that kind of thing.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so
What a great scam.
Yeah.
yeah, my neighbors next door have a nice big open field. I could create a great garden right over there.
Oh, that's a riot. I actually think it's going to happen.
Well, what's really right is that people are willing to actually buy a policy like that. Whoa, okay.
You think they really would?
I guess they really did, which is, it's like, what?
Well, there's nothing saying that you can't sell a policy like that and say that of course I'm going to follow through with it.
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, when you come right down to it, isn't that what the whole Christian religion is about? That they're selling you a policy for after you die?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
That's what pissed off Martin Luther, wasn't it? Like, hey, you guys, you're selling me 2 tickets to paradise, or at least a get out of purgatory free card or something.
Yeah, and all you got to do is pay them 10% of your income every week.
And more on holidays. For that, give us that special gift, and the Lord will thank you. Oh, maybe I should just go be a preacher and start to con these assholes.
Again, when you're giving this gift to a guy who's standing behind a marble altar drinking from a gold chalice.
Stop thinking about the Catholics. They're one of the least offenders. Start thinking about the evangelicals, the Joel Osteens and stuff like that just absolutely rape the people of their money. And then even in like the Houston flooding that they had down there, and the Houston freezing that they had down there wouldn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Our church is nice and warm, but we're not going to let you in because we have carpeting.
He took the money and stuffed it behind the toilet in the bathroom.
Yeah. I wonder what ever became of that.
Of all places to hide it.
Well, that's not a bad hiding place. What, you look behind toilets a lot?
Well, I don't. It's part of my job, but
yeah, I thought for sure when I heard that happening that he would go down with that. But nope.
He was lifted up by the Lord, by the Spirit of Jesus Christ.
All he had to do was, get up on his podium and say, I confess my sins to the Lord and Jesus has forgiven me.
I saw this really cold-hearted meme yesterday. It was some guy, praying. And the words in his balloon were something to paraphrase. Thank you, Lord, for helping me score those points in the game and winning the game instead of wasting all that time helping those dying children. Oh,
Yeah, you ever think about that? But like the kids in a cancer hospital who are watching the football game, and the guy scores a touchdown and says, "Thank you, Jesus."
yeah, yeah.
So, we know that Dr. Ben spent all those years training to be a doctor, so God can get all the credit.
Yep.
Yeah. Does Ben say that?
I don't know.
Because he doesn't, he should.
Yeah.
No, but in Mash Potter said that when they live, he gets the credit. When they die, we get the blame.
It's probably not exactly wrong at all. I just can't believe any religion is evil as far as I'm concerned. How it sucks people into these false beliefs of non-reality that ancient people couldn't understand, and that they keep flushing that shit down your throats.
Yeah.
And then the hypocrisy, of the evangelical front in the United States. They are so absolutely accusatorial and persecutorial towards anybody who's not a Southern Baptist, and anybody that they deem as evil, or you have demons in you, and demons have gotten in. That's the latest new saying from them. And but they persecute with the Old Testament, and they pretend that New Testament never existed, but call themselves Christians. It's,
Well,
guys, this doesn't work together.
Well, don't you know that white Christian men are the most persecuted group in the U.S.?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they certainly don't deserve it.
No.
Yeah, mockery is the best way to deal with them. Yeah, I keep going back to the Catholics just because that was the church I was brought up in. So the only references I have are for a Catholic and a Methodist church.
And some of these evangelical dudes are just absolutely, they're comedic. They're in their stereotype. What's that little short guy who's got 2 jets or 3 jets and needs a 4th or 5th or something like that? He's got that real evil face and just yells the shit at people. And there's a vid that goes around of some reporter talking to him as he's getting in or out of his magic van, and saying, well, what about you guys need another jet when you have 2 already? And he just lights up and starts screaming demons and all this kind of stuff, and then also instantly calms down and blesses her. And it's like, wow, man.
Yeah, I would agree with Mark that the religions aren't the problem so much as the bureaucracies that are built around them. It's just when these people start feeling they have that kind of power over other people and feel they can be making demands over everyone in their congregation.
Well, they do have that kind of power over their people.
I'd put it a little differently. I'd say the stories are not bad in themselves, right? The stories are just stories, right? But it's the people that set out to convince you that the stories are truth.
Yeah.
That all of that stuff is actually true in the physical world, and it has impact.
It is true. The Bible says it is.
And if you don't accept that the stories are true, you will receive punishment in this world and the next. Give me your money, or The boogeyman will come and get you.
Yeah, we call that extortion.
It's I mean, it's not that it's the boogeyman. There's nothing wrong with the boogeyman story, but he's not actually in the closet.
Oh, the
Well,
boogeyman came out?
Yeah, well, I had to throw that in there because I knew that was a softball that Jenny was going to hit out of the park. But there you go. That's the way I see it. It's like, no, the stories aren't bad. It's the people that push the lie that the stories have reality behind them in anything other than a strictly metaphorical or common themes of human life, et cetera, and so forth bit,
Yeah, they rely on keeping people paranoid.
And let's face it, some of the stories are just plain terrible because they promote things like slavery and concubinage and oppression of women and et cetera and so forth. They are, some of the stories are absolutely hideous. Some of them aren't, but none of them, not a single one, is real or should be the basis of law. No.
What actually broke me from being a Christian was I specifically remember reading all the rules in Leviticus. And there's a section in there that gave all sorts of restrictions that basically boiled down to, anybody with a disability isn't allowed to enter the church.
Oh, it specifically says disabled people aren't wanted in the church.
And it's like, aren't these the people who need God's help the most, but they're not allowed to go to his house? And that was really the point where I completely gave up on being Christian.
You see, that's part of God's plan. You just don't understand. If you really,
Well, we lost Jenny.
Oh no. Well, you're about to lose me too, because I've got to go off and do that thing I do.
The thing you do, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't covered that I know people here have been asking about Diana. And she was in before we went live, but they were in the process of discharging her from the hospital and sending her home. So she is on her way home now.
If she gets back in time, she might pop back in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but we lost you for a little while there.
Yeah, I had a phone call from my doctor.
Ah, okay.
And I'm sorry, my doctor's more important than you, Perp. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, no, of course.
Thanks, fair. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a great afternoon, et cetera, and so forth. And be good.
Okay.
Stay safe out there, Steph.
I'm gonna.
Yep.
No thunderstorms today, so I see. So we'll see.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, fade out. Yeah. Now we have to talk about.
I don't know. I had 3 topics and we've covered them.
Yeah, need to extend that a little bit more. Oh, you missed a good movie Monday.
Yeah, you did a little Shop of Horrors. I wanted to see that, but I was busy with working out the details for this plan to move the van.
Yeah, I just plain forgot. I just got involved in some public television broadcasts, and I just plumb forgot.
Will you be able to make it for next week, or are you going to be on your road trip by then?
No, Monday night I should be able to do it.
Yeah, good. Because I'm playing on Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. Basically, I'm planning to load up on Tuesday and drive all day Wednesday.
Yeah, I inadvertently noticed I had something of a theme going with some of the movies. Because it turns out Brian Henson was working on The Little Shop of Horrors at the same time he was working on Labyrinth.
I guess it never occurred to me they did Little Shop of Horrors, but of course it makes sense.
Yeah, the Jim Henson company created the Audrey 2 new puppet.
Yep. Diana wound up in the hospital because she turned out to be severely anemic, and they're still not sure what the cause was. Yeah, I had always thought that, Star Trek Next Generation and all the ones that followed it, really should have gone to the people at, Henson's Creature Workshop and just gotten them to design a couple of characters that they could put in a Starfleet uniform, even if they never had speaking roles or anything, just to walk past people in the corridors, just to make it look like it wasn't all bipeds that were in Starfleet.
Well, kind of what they did with the Orville there.
Yeah, the Orville did better on that.
Yeah.
I would love to see Beaker in the Enterprise.
Well, maybe not that cheap, but
No, I was thinking more along the lines of some of the creatures that they did for Dark Crystal.
Never saw it, so I have no clue.
Well, catch next week's movie night. Then you'll see it.
I'm not going to commit. I tend not to be a fan of that genre. I don't even know how to describe that genre, but
Fantasy.
okay, fantasy. False medieval fantasy is how it makes me think of itself.
Well, the Dark Crystal is more sci-fi fantasy because it's entirely a different planet.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the Dark Crystal is that you have the Muppets with no humans involved. It is strictly a world created for and of Muppets. And, they're not the comical Muppets. They're more the labyrinth sort.
But think of this, though. Okay, I'm going to pick on Star Wars. If you have the technology to build these ships that can bust into light speed and get everywhere they got to go within an hour, and you have weapons that can destroy an entire planet, why would you fight with a laser like a sword? You just go, you're gone.
It's a more elegant weapon.
Oh,
those blasters are just so uncivilized.
Yeah, I have wondered about that. That, once you have projection weapons, why would you be fighting with melee weapons at all?
Well, we've seen what the Jedi can do with those projectiles, so I guess it kind of makes sense in their hands.
Well, and if a Jedi can do that with a projectile, they can pick you up and put you on the ceiling and walk away. It's just not consistent.
There have been in scenes where they get thrown around. They throw people around. So
yeah.
Yeah, there are occasions where you wind up in close combat with somebody. And I suppose one thing for it is that, projectile weapons and that, you have a lot bigger chance of collateral damage. Because if your shot misses and goes through the wall, you don't know if you're going to kill an innocent civilian in the next room. I don't know.
And no, stormtroopers don't tend to actually have bad aim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Doc Pearson does have a point that if you're inside a spaceship, you don't want to be shooting anything that could put holes in the spaceship.
Oh, I never said it wasn't cool. I just, I'm just kind of thinking with a military mindset. Why would you do that?
Mark, if you still have to battle your dinner, it's a bit undercooked.
Klingon on dining.
Okay, that's actually what Doc said, that's actually the best explanation I could come up with. That, yeah, the stormtroopers shouldn't have been using the blasters inside the Death Star, because if they started, puncturing several dozen holes in it that the atmosphere was escaping, that would have been a very bad thing.
Especially seeing as they apparently they were intending to miss. Though we didn't see any holes being generated from the blaster hitting the walls, so
Well, this weekend I'm not going to get any sleep.
Oh,
It's our annual hoedown days. Friday,
Oh.
Saturday, Sunday. And
so the whole town's going to be rowdy.
yeah, it's 4 houses away from here.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, I saw where you were driving around, how close you are to the fairgrounds there.
yeah, I'll skip that joke.
Go ahead, tell it.
Well, if it's Hoda, why don't you pick her back up?
Boom, boom. I am going to try and go out and photograph the fireworks. Here I am, this person who's done photography since 1967, and I've never tried to take pictures of the fireworks.
I've gotten some pictures. Go ahead.
It just sounds kind of weird. Isn't that kind of like standard? You do have to do that if you're a photographer.
Yeah, I've gotten some interesting pictures of fireworks. One thing that actually generates a really interesting effect with taking pictures of fireworks is if you actually shake the camera so you intentionally get that blur in it. Because it creates a really neat image.
Well, I'm going to try, assuming that the weather is okay, because it's just down the block. In fact, last year I didn't have to go to the fairgrounds to see the fireworks. I just stepped out on my front porch, and there they were. Over the left, a little more.
Really? It wasn't blocked by all the tall buildings?
Yeah, all those one-story wonders. Oh wait, no, that's a duplex. Our tallest building in this town is kind of like 2.5 stories high. It's an older building, so it's got probably 9 or 10 foot ceilings, but it's still only 2 stories. And that would be the International Owl Center. They own the fancy building in town.
Yeah, there was some movie about a time traveler who winds up, back in the early 1800s. And he winds up, and this guy asks him where he's from, and he just says Chicago. And he says, Chicago? I understand they got a building there that's 5 stories tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's real. It was what it was like at one point.
Well, actually, the main reason that they didn't get built more than 5 stories tall was until they invented the elevator, nobody could handle all the stairs to go any higher.
Yeah. The state of Wisconsin, I don't know if it's still on the books, but at one point they had a law that you could build no building taller than the state capitol building. Wherever it was in the state.
A lot of states have things like that, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. And I don't know if it's still on the books or not, but for decades that Minneapolis had a law that you couldn't build anything higher than the IDS tower.
Sounds almost like a medieval rule.
Yeah, which is why when AT&T built their building in downtown Minneapolis, they had to argue that their building was actually 3 inches shorter than the IDS because the IDS had this, like 20-foot broadcast antenna on top of the building. Well, so while the building itself was taller, it was still shorter than their antenna.
When they're trying to brag about their building, they always include the height that the antenna gives.
Yep.
But, in this case, we're going to not use that now. We're Republican. That works against us. We're going to lie.
Yeah, a lot of limitations were to do with just, with just brick and stone buildings, how high you could build before the bottom level started to crumble under the weight. So yeah, until they started building things with steel skeletons.
The tallest building in Milwaukee is I call it the First Wisconsin Center because that was its original name. I don't know what it is now. I think the U.S. Bank Tower. It's 42 stories. But part of the reason that they can't build any higher than that is because under everything under Milwaukee is swamp, and
Yeah.
the highlands have to go down several hundred feet.
Yeah, the water table's so high that they don't have like bedrock or anything solid.
It's a known feature of Milwaukee that the parts of it are sinking because they were not built with the marsh taken into account, way back in the old days. And you can actually see some of them had to build stairs that go down so people could still come to their business.
No, that's because of the mud flood.
Oh, well, probably, yeah. We're just being conned.
I got a couple of buildings around here I wanted to take pictures of just to be trolling the mud flood people. Actually, the best one would be the Walker Library in Minneapolis. Is a 5-story building, but only the top story is at street level. The other 4 stories are below ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's a courtyard all the way around it. So, you can look over the stone wall and you can see all the way down to the bottom because they wanted to let natural light get all the way to the bottom level.
Mm-hmm. But on the outside, it stops at the first.
Yeah, you enter on the 5th floor and you go down.
Interesting.
The Science Museum in Minnesota is kind of interesting in that too, because it's actually built into the cliff, so that the 5th story is on street level in downtown St. Paul, but the bottom level is actually on the street level even with the river. Because it just happens to be built right into the side of a 60-foot cliff.
Hey, are you anywhere near the beginning of the Mississippi River?
No, we're on the Sauk River here.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Are you we're near the beginning of the Mississippi River? It's Lake
No.
Itasca or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where the beginning is, but I'm pretty sure it's at least a couple hours north of here.
This woman I know here, she told me that it actually starts trickling out of this lake, and that it's 2 inches wide. and look what it becomes.
Yep, Lake Itasca.
Itasca. I thought there was an H in there.
Yep. Yeah, it starts out very small, but then it's got, even before it gets out of the state of Minnesota, it's got like 8 or 9 other rivers that feed into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's peppered with confluence areas.
Okay, I'm not even quite sure where in the state that is.
Well, do Google Earth.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull up a map for it.
Just type in headwaters Mississippi River. It'll take you right there.
Beep, beep. Okay, now let's zoom out so I can see more or less the whole state here and see where we're at. Yep. Oh, it's actually even a bit north of Fargo. So yeah, it's yeah, it'd be about a 2.5 hour drive for me. It's about 150 miles north.
Hmm. So that means it'd be 300 miles for me. Minnesota's a big state.
Yep.
Is it like 600 or 700 miles from north to south? Something like that. I don't know. It's big. It just takes too long to get anywhere.
Yeah, it's a rather tall state. It's not all that wide.
See, and I'm just the opposite of that.
It's a little over 400 miles north to south.
Really?
That's
Is that
about
all?
650 kilometers for you metric people.
Huh.
Well, that's what Google says.
I believe it. I'm not a flat earther. I can buy Google. Oh, Jesus.
And of course, the Earth isn't flat; it's a donut.
Yeah. What's it filled with?
I didn't say it was a donut filled with anything.
Oh, okay. Public television did Jupiter last night.
Oh?
Or Monday night. Excuse me. I like that this show's on Wednesday. It really, it makes it feel like tomorrow's the weekend.
Yeah, I kind of get thrown by that myself. I kind of feel like, my week's about done here. Then I realize that no, I've still got doctor's appointments the next couple of days.
We're going to get an increase on your boob food?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got an appointment on Thursday. Actually, it's mostly to bug them about why I haven't gotten any references or any more information about surgeries. I expected I would have been, referred and gotten a consultation to a surgeon by now.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a
they're
topic.
not just going to say it's time for you to do that. They're going to wait for you to bring it up.
Well,
That's
that's
what
I talked.
That's what informed consent is all about. Is you making the decisions.
Yeah, well, I had talked to them about it back in January, so I thought that the process had already been started. But they told me that there would be a delay of several months, so I waited a few months. But it's like, no, it's it's been
When are
6
you
months
seeing
and
them
nothing's
next?
happened.
When do you see them next?
I've got an appointment tomorrow.
Call them yet today and say, hey,
What?
I'm expecting to get this tomorrow at my appointment.
Yeah, well, I already talked to him on Monday about it.
Oh, okay.
And then I got on and I also left an email for the doctor.
Yeah. So, what's everybody think of Elon Musk's X.com?
Yeah. What a stupid ass name.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's supposed to be this big idea man, and he can't come up with a more imaginative name for something that he thinks is going to take over the world.
Well, I haven't heard the exact structure of it, but I've heard some ramblings out of his mouth in some clips that I've seen that he wants to get into the financial end of the world.
Yeah.
With X, and basically make it the only necessary software that you ever use.
Yeah.
Yep. I heard about that too, and I think he's sore that PayPal became more profitable after he sold it. So I think now he wants to compete with PayPal.
That's what it sounds like he's trying to do.
Well, I wouldn't buy a plug nickel from him.
Though interesting enough, this was what he wanted to do with PayPal too. The whole X thing was originally something he was going to do with PayPal.
Yeah, but
apparently
why?
the other shareholders say no, it sounds too much like a porn site.
What,
before
X?
before he got kicked off, kicked out. So I guess now he has basically full control of Twitter. He's trying to turn Twitter into X.com, and he's using the Unicode style X that I'm not even sure could be trademarked or copyrighted.
Well, I had actually heard some claim that that Facebook already had a trademark on the name X, so that was going to cause some complications for him.
Well, apparently also Windows apparently has a trademark on X for, I guess, different reasons. So it depends on how it's being used. But like I said, even the symbol he's the stylized X he's using, I'm not sure can actually be trademarked.
Yeah.
If it's somebody else's font, no, it can't. Somebody already owns that.
Yeah, whoever created the font will have a trademark on it.
Yeah, there is a font that looks pretty much exactly like it, and then there's also the Unicode X.
A font would not have a trademark on it; it would have a copyright.
Or copyright, yeah. So I mean, you can't. I'm not sure you can actually copyright that.
Yeah,
that's
trademarks are for like company name, these kinds of things, and then it's not even just the name; it's the stylized use of those words as your title. So it's the physical art form that's used matters, or is part of it, not the only part, but part of it. I investigated getting a trademark for my shop years ago, and it just was too much trouble to bother.
I'm not entirely certain what the whole Windows thing is about.
Copyrights is part of what this nation was founded on. As I don't know because I haven't memorized it, but I think I recall being told that copyright is a concept and law are dealt with in the Constitution. But like I said, I don't know because I haven't memorized it all. Somebody else could check on that if they wish.
I'm not sure exactly where in the law they're covered, but yeah, I had looked into the trademarks and copyrights too. Although actually, there's a difference. You can have a trademark without it being a registered trademark. And if a company starts using it and you can prove that you used it before that company did, you can still claim the rights to the trademark even if you never registered it.
Yep.
Well, it stands to reason, I think.
Yeah, that's often a thing that you can get by a lot of the trademark and copyright things just by even misspelling a word.
Yeah, like there's a Quick Trip gas station chain. It's spelled with Q-U-I-C-K Trip, and then there's the one up here which is K-W-I-K Trip, and so they can sound the same but have a different.
That might be pushing it.
No,
No.
Nope, they are two different chains that operate in different states, but
Yeah, and the one up here has got 800 locations.
Oh, they're operating in different. That might change things, but depends on. It could depend on whether the two can be confused for each other too.
yep.
There's some legal ground there.
Well, if I've seen people get confused on them if you don't mention, we're talking about Quick Trip with a K, or Quick Trip with a Q. So there can be some confusion there, but it gets straightened out rather quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a great one. There was a place in St. Paul that was called Papa John's Pizza that had been there for 25 years before the Papa John's chain tried to open a store in Minnesota. So they actually had to buy the trademark off of them. And they changed the name to John's Pizza Unlimited. The family is still running the place. They will not talk about the idea other than saying that they don't have to worry about money anymore.
and that's the place that all the human trafficking is coming out, and all the teenagers are being absconded with and freed from their adrenochrome, which is a youth, a fountain of youth for people. You inject it and then you live forever. That's what the Democrats do to children, because we're demons.
Silly Democrats! Don't you know you're supposed to drain their blood for the youth?
But that only happens in the basement of pizzerias that don't have a basement.
Well, yeah, I know, but people just don't believe you when you tell them that.
You don't drain them of the chemical. You drain them of their blood, and then you bathe in their blood. That's how you're supposed to stay young forever.
Adrenochrome.
Well, that's why the Republicans are all wrinkly, because they haven't figured out how to do the process properly.
I gotta go pee-pee. Be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, I don't know. I suppose we probably just wrap this up if we're running out of things to talk about.
Yeah. We can probably push this for another. Well, we only got about another 30 minutes here, so we can try and push it here.
Only if somebody comes up with a topic, or of course, how about the side chat? Does anybody have a topic? Does anybody have a question?
Topics, questions, anything goes.
Bye, Mark. Mark's heading off to work.
Later.
Has there been any news on the orcas?
I haven't heard anything on the orcas.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything recent on them.
I came across some interesting stuff on the whole, was it Sound of Freedom movie that at the right apparently are just gushing over. Haven't quite. I don't know too much about the content into the movie per se as to right wing signaling and all that. But from my understanding, the truth, the true story value of it, even the source of it is in question, and as the group that it's based on usually overstates what they do and even flat out lies.
Yeah, no surprise there.
And the people behind the movie are all very right-wing MAGA types, QAnon types, so there's a pretty good chance of that. Though I came across another movie that came out a few years ago called The Tale. And that one's apparently one that conservatives want to go away.
Oh.
Yeah, that one's based on a true story. It's almost a autobiography by the person who actually happened to, who produced and wrote it. and there was this story about how her riding coach had groomed and molested her when she was 13.
Yeah.
I got my hands on the movie. I was kind of skimming through it. It looks like a pretty intense movie.
Yeah, the subject would be. I did hear some encouraging political news. Lauren Boebert's Democratic challenger is apparently outraising her on funds, on donations to his campaign at a rate of at least 3-1. He's the same guy who ran against her in the last election, and he only lost by like 546 votes. So the margin was like less than half of 1%. So it does sound like he's got a pretty decent chance at it.
Yeah, came in pretty close there.
Also, in a poll, apparently younger people realize who it is that killed the student debt relief program. That the Republicans have been trying to blame it on Biden, but 80 to 90% of the people under 35 are saying it was either the Republican Party or the Supreme Court.
Usually is.
Yeah, but the fact that the younger voters are aware of this, and the younger voters are getting riled up about this next election. So, that's not going to be good for the Republicans if these people actually do get out and show up in significant numbers.
Oh, and speaking about Biden, apparently he cracked down on health insurance scams.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, apparently he closed the Trump era loophole that was allowing these cheaper health insurance things that were basically doing nothing. So basically, they were saying, yeah, you can't do that.
As far as insurance goes, I heard that I think it was State Farm and a couple of the big insurance companies have said that they're no longer going to offer homeowners insurance in Florida. So while I know the Florida housing prices have been going through the roof, I think that's going to cause a market crash when people find out that they can't get homeowners insurance.
Yes, it is a problem around here. The cost of insurance is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's basically what the insurance companies are saying, is that, with all the hurricanes and tropical storms and whatever, and buildings sinking, that they can't make any money offering insurance down there because they have to keep paying out on policies. So yeah, if an insurance company actually feels that there's a decent chance they have to pay out, they're just not going to play the game anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the free market capitalism will fix it all.
I'm sure DeSantis has a plan for it. Of course, does DeSantis spend any time in Florida anymore, or is he just too busy, running around doing his presidential thing?
I don't know, but whoever has him right now, they can keep him.
Well, there was an announcement from his campaign that they're going to be basically they're going to be rebuilding his campaign from the ground up, that they're re-strategizing, because apparently Santos running around yelling woke, woke, woke in all the other states isn't working.
So what, you think that the Nazi imagery would land with some people?
Well, I'm sure that part works in a number of states. Unfortunately, it's not likely to work in the swing states. I still can't believe that Trump and DeSantis are the biggest forerunners. And by all accounts, it's going to be Trump again because even DeSantis is so far behind him in the polls.
Let's just see what happens with all the criminal charges.
Yeah, unfortunately, unless they actually, get him on something about overthrowing the government, he'll still be eligible to run, and the MAGA people will still vote for him even if he's in prison.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, wokenetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an interview, I think it was on CNN, that they asked DeSantis about woke, and he says, I know what it means. I've defined it, and then goes rambling off, but refuses to ever define it.
Actually, they did. Yeah, they actually did. They did force him to define it at some point.
Oh,
Who's
did
this?
they
What's
finally
this?
get a definition from him?
Yeah.
Who's this? What's this?
Getting Ron DeSantis to define woke.
Oh, yeah. Boy, people do not like him.
No, the polls have been showing over and over that the more he speaks, the lower his numbers drop.
Yeah.
Okay, here he answered, woke is the belief there are systematic injustices in American society and the need to address them.
Well, that's not all that far off.
Yeah,
No,
that's really not bad.
not too far off, but that doesn't really cover the negative thing, that how it's actually been in use and how he's actually using it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Woke is like officially thought of as the capacity to have empathy for the needs of others and working to help them fulfill that.
Yeah, that's a positive definition of it. And there's also the negative definition that he coined in 2020. And that one is, let's see if I remember off the top of my head, politically liberal. That's either extreme, insincere, and what was the last one? Excessive, I believe it was.
Okay, I have to take off my mic for a minute. I'll be right back.
Unreasonable, that was it. It was extreme, unreasonable, or insincere.
Holy cow! I had a blood test this morning, where they poke a hole in your finger and drain a little blood. They put a Band-Aid on there, and I just took it off, and it almost pulled my fingernail off. The adhesive was so stuck.
Damn.
Holy cow! I'm sorry, I interrupted your thought.
No, that's okay. But that was basically their definition that they came up with back into 2020. That's the negative definition of woke that they can't even remember. I like to keep that. I try and keep that one in mind, because when they start calling everything woke, you actually can point out, no, this is how you guys defined it.
I would love to get a copy of that.
I've written it down in the DM group at one point.
I don't recall it.
But you can actually basically pull it up on, if you go to Merriam-Webster's, there's the second definition: disapproving, politically liberal, as in matters of racial or social justice, especially in a way that is considered unreasonable or extreme. I also would suggest is throwing in insincere, because I've spoken to a number of people asking them, okay, how do you define it? And it's pretty rambly as to how they go about defining it. It's more of a describing it rather than defining it, but it kind of boils down to that. Though I think there is a lot of wiggle room as to how you can go about it. For instance, politically liberal extreme. Well, for some of these people, anything that's left or center right is politically liberal extreme. You know?
Hmm. I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous that there's a whole political party that sees it as something bad to take care of your fellow human.
Mm.
You know, it says so much about them and why they would be interested in having a dictatorship and taking away everybody's rights, because they just do not like or care about anybody else.
Well, don't you know they should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps?
Yeah, you know
Bootstraps not
that saying,
included.
"Pulling up yourself up by your bootstraps," did not was not invented to mean what it means. There's actually more to the saying. I forget what was the precede to the saying, but it was basically the exact opposite. You know, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps implies that you get out there and help yourself and take care of yourself, and pull that up and get busy, hard working, and you'll be fine. But it was just the opposite. That how can you? What do you expect people with no resources to do? Comma pull up their own bootstraps so they don't have boots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
That's the problem. What if you don't have boots to start with?
Yeah,
Well,
I usually throw in bootstraps not included.
I gotta get some new shoes.
Yeah, I gotta get some new boots for myself. The ones I've been wearing, I did get some new ones, but I've been wearing my old ones until they fall apart, and they're starting to fall apart.
I
But
actually,
I want to get another pair so I can muck around in the garden without ruining my new pair.
I
Oh,
actually
Brody.
found a pair of sandals yesterday that actually feel like they're designed for walking in and not just for appearance. They actually have some padding and even a little bit of arch support.
I'm looking for a sandal that is closed toe and has some leather on the sides of it to help support your foot.
Yeah.
I guess they call those shoes, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're called shoes. I want to get something that's easy to put on and off, maybe something with Velcro straps instead of laces.
I have horrible, ugly feet, and I will not go out in public in sandals. I will not do open toe ever.
I tend to prefer boots because it helps provide supports for my ankles.
Okay. Beck is saying early 19th century, attested in 1834, in the original use, often used to refer to pulling oneself over a fence
Well, that's a new one. I haven't heard that.
and implying that someone is attempting to or has climbed some ludicrously far-fetched or impossible task, presumably a variant on a traditional tall tale. Widely attributed since at least 1901 to the surprising inventions of Baron Munchausen by Rudolf Erich Rasp, as the eponymous Baron pulls himself out of a swamp by his own pigtail, though not by his bootstraps. The adventure is primarily a collection of centuries-old tall tales, however, and using bootstraps may have arisen as a variant on the same theme.
The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That's another movie we should do sometime.
Oh, there is such a film?
Yeah. Has Robin Williams in it as a floating head.
Yeah,
oh,
I-
jeez.
I think it was directed by Eric Idle, wasn't it?
I don't remember who directed it, but it's an insane movie.
Yeah, it's along the lines of the Monty Python movies.
I once in a while, when there's just absolutely nothing else on TV, I can pick up one of the stations that carries repeats of Johnny Carson.
Oh,
And I saw it last week sometime, and Robin Williams was the guest, and it was in his days where he was just getting known and people just learning how absolutely fuck crazy this guy is. um, and it was just real enjoyable to watch. You know, it was a real good reminisce. It's so sad. It's such a sad story.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, like in the animated Aladdin, when Robin Williams did the genie, that scene in the cave, they didn't actually had a script for that because they just wanted to let Robin Williams run live, and they said we'll write it after he's done.
Yeah, he was a freaking genius, and he was a damn good actor too. So many comedians are just really good actors. You know,
Yeah, I have to feel that contributed to his end that he never got taken seriously as an actor, even though he did some very serious films, and they kept putting him in the comedy section everywhere.
Well, since you're mentioning him, it turned out in the trivia from Little Shop of Horrors, Robin Williams was briefly considered for the role of the dentist Orwin.
well, it would have been a very different movie with him.
He turned it down though. I don't know. I can't really picture Robin Williams playing a sadistic, abusive dentist.
Mm,
I could. he's, he's so whacked out.
I don't know. Did you ever see that? Oh, I forget the title of it now. That movie in Alaska where he played a murderer.
No, I don't think I've seen him play a murderer before.
Oh yeah. When he plays it serious, he can be incredibly creepy.
Huh. You have to see if you can get the name of that movie for me. But other the people who were considered for the role was Tim Curry and Gene Wilder.
Yeah, I think they made the right choice for that one.
Yeah.
With Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they couldn't get Steve Martin, they would have gone with tried to get John Travolta or Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
such polar opposites.
Yeah, Beck Munchausen's disease is named for the character of Baron Munchausen.
It really
Basically,
is.
yeah. Just the reference that it's about somebody making the situation all about themselves.
You've heard that the trans haters these days are now accusing parents of trans kids of just being committing Munchausen by proxy. That your kid isn't trans, you're making them that way.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
abuse,
I've heard that
and
claim.
they should be taken away from you, and which they're going to do in Florida.
Insomnia. That was the Robin Williams movie I was thinking
Insomnia. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw him actually, play a character that you weren't supposed to like. And yeah, he came across pretty creepy there. Well, that and 1 Hour Photo too, as it unravels. He seems real likable in the beginning, but as the story unravels, it's like,
My favorite with him is I think will always be Good Will Hunting.
I never saw that one.
It's good. I mean, it's the plot is not super deep. It's troubled youth gets discovered to be super smart, and a good-willed teacher tries to get them through their difficulties and stuff. It's not a real complex plot, but it's really very well done.
Yeah.
And which is kind of shocking considering it was what's his name? And Ben Affleck's God, what's his name? I can't remember. The guy who played Will in Good Will Hunting.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon. And it's like Matt Damon's and Ben Affleck's first film that they did together.
I'm sorry. Every time you say Affleck, my first response is the duck.
Affleck. And he just died, last year.
Really?
Yeah, Gordon Gottfried. Yeah.
No.
Well, look at the trees. I really liked him in Popeye. Again, I never saw that one, but I never cared for the original character of Popeye, so no interest there.
No, actually, that was actually one of the stated reasons why Robin Williams didn't take the role of the dentist because of how badly Popeye turned out.
Oh,
Makes sense. One of my most favorite actors is Bruce Dern. He's been in so many just kind of off mainstream oddball films.
I'm horrible.
And bit roles. Too. He'll take a bit
Yeah.
role.
Hmm.
I just really like. I fell in love with him in the film. God, what's the name of that again? Where he's alone in the space machine, spaceship, and just have these robots to communicate with and stuff like that, and he's all alone. Just that whole thing. I can't remember the title.
Yeah,
so.
I'm horrible with actors, so until you can give me a character in a movie that I've seen, I won't know who you mean. You're not talking about Silent Running, are you?
Wasn't there a World War II submarine movie called Silent Running?
Yeah, there was a science fiction movie like from the early 70s, and then there
okay.
was a submarine movie with the
Okay.
same title.
Then that would be it. Yeah, Silent Running. Anyways, I just how difficult it would be to be the only character in a movie, basically.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay, I just remembered the one I was just trying to remember for that Robin Williams was playing the Doctor. Not Patch Adams. It was Awakenings.
Yeah.
Patch Adams was good too.
Mork
Yeah.
and Mindy. Mindy was a hottie.
Oh yeah, I had a major crush on her for a long time. Actually, she still looks pretty good today for her age.
Yeah, I've seen her. I kind of thought the same thing.
Mork and Mindy is where I first saw Robin Williams.
Yep.
That's where everybody saw Robin Williams.
Well, technically, we first saw him on Happy Days. Mork and Mindy was sort of a spin-off of that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, he made 2 appearances as Mork on Happy Days.
Well, I didn't see that at first. I saw Mork and Mindy first.
Yep.
But then again, I was also a toddler at the time, so.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw him on Johnny Carson. I was just dumbfounded that this guy is that absolute bananas. Just he could go and go and go and never shut up, and it was a laugh a second.
Yeah, just the way that he switches characters so fast and jumps between topics too fast for you to really think about what he's saying.
And he really always got Johnny Carson really laughing, which is, as I heard, it was not exactly an easy thing to do.
Yeah. Well, Johnny's job was to play the straight man.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever seen Bicentennial Man?
Yes, I like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that a robot film?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams played a robot.
Oh no, I wanted to see it. I haven't seen it. Maybe we should do that on a Monday night.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we should do that. Definitely do that one.
Yeah, basically he was created to be a robot servant and he wanted to become more human.
I was expecting to have an antagonist, and that was going to piss me off, but there wasn't.
Yeah, that was based on a Ray Bradbury story.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
That's okay. We should probably wrap up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole 2 hours.
We went our extra 30 minutes.
Hello?
Hello? You still there?
Yeah, we just lost Jenny.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Mage, you got anything coming up? You making any appearances on other channels?
Well, I'll probably be on Diana's channel on Sunday if she does one, and I'm still gotta get into working on my own garden video, which I have Jenny here to thank for the topic.
Oh, what's the topic of this one?
I wanted to get a little bit more in depth on the whole black walnut thing and using it for compost.
Oh,
Ah.
I
that'll
was
be
planning,
interesting.
yeah, I was planning on doing it this past weekend, but I was just too fatigued from the arthritis. Haven't been able to really get much done in the garden.
Hey, Beck, it's nice to have you around.
Yeah, nice to be
I-
seeing more of you.
I miss you.
Yeah.
So, Jenny, you have anything coming up?
Yep.
Not going to tell us about it, though?
Oh, you want to know about it? On Friday, I'm going to be. I think it's going to be just the taping. I don't believe they do a live show. Christy Santiago's
Oh, the Leah podcast?
gig.
Or...
Yeah, the Leah podcast. I would think it will be available rather soon after that, as in the next week. And for those who don't know, Leah stands for the League of Extraordinary. What? LEAH. Extraordinary Gentleman. It's a ploy off that movie, which is a lousy fucking movie.
The one that got Sean
Yeah.
Connery to retire.
I forget what the A is, but yeah. League of Extraordinary Atheist Humanists or something like that.
That's it. Atheists. I keep forgetting what's their main push.
Well, yeah, because, atheists don't really exist.
No. And if they don't, it's because we didn't give them permission, and they're just breaking the law.
Okay, well, and people who came in late may not have heard, but I'm not going to be here next week because I'm bringing my van down to my brother to have him work on it. So I will set up a stream, but yeah, Mage will be running it here.
Yes, be aware, everybody.
Oh, you'll do fine. So yeah, Jenny, you and Mage will have to be doing it without me next week.
As long as you can keep me company. I don't have to
Oh,
solo.
we should see if we can get a guest.
Yeah. Have somebody come in.
I'll call Captain Kangaroo, see if we can get him in there.
Yeah, that'll work.
Or William Shatner, maybe. Ooh.
Yes. We can have him sing.
Yeah, that would be great. I love his voice.
Yeah, one song should fill up a good hour.
God, he's such a joke. Although he's started letting people know that he really is as old as he is. His toupee is now grayish, has some gray in it now.
Well, I'll throw you the link then in back.
Hey, I'll ask him if you want. Hey, you want to come spend a couple hours on Wednesday shooting the shit and telling dirty jokes?
Oh yeah, Beck, I keep forgetting that you're not in the groups anymore where I post the links. You can ask me any time that you've got time to come in.
Oh, but Beck, that would be fine. That'd be wonderful. We start showing up at the DM chat about 1:30 or so.
Yeah, you just have to send back a specific link because he's not in any of the group DM things now.
Oh,
I'll do that next week.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. Okay, but anyway, with that, I appreciate all of you. Oh shoot!
Lavender Lady Diana, hi.
Oh, Diana's just coming in now. Hi, Diana. We were just wrapping up.
How you doing?
I was just going to thank all the people who support me on Patreon. Diana and Vonrick and Robert X, Kitty the Atheist, Skitscrasher, of course, Southern Sal. I appreciate all you guys helping me keep things running here.
Well, Diane, if you're planning on doing your own little stream later, just give me a little bit of time to take care of the chickens and walk Molly.
Beck says he was crazy. Put him back in the groups.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Okay, well, with that, then, we will bid you all a good day. And, well, normally I would say I would see you next week, but I'm not going to. I'll have to watch the replay.
No, you don't want to watch the replay. No. Well, of course, it might explain why you lose your account and stuff, but
Actually, it's one of the things I like about watching the streams on Twitter is I get to hear what other people say about me when I'm not in the room. So, but with that, we will bid you all a goodbye.
Later.
Bye bye.